This is Bars at Work, where leadership and personal development meets hip hop.
Keep it going.
With just a few, you can change the news, adjust your view beyond the hue. The strength in a team that takes these cues and goes beyond what they thought they can do.
Man, we getting deep now. We getting deep. We getting deeper. So, with just a few, you can change the news, adjust your view beyond the hue. So I hear some very weighty considerations, especially given where the state of our country has been in the last couple of years and in the last couple of months. Break down this idea of, with just a few, changing the news. What do we mean by news? And adjust your view beyond the hue.
Yeah. So what's crazy about these bars, they were written before a lot of what we experienced during the pandemic. And what we see was it's almost crazily prophetic.
Yeah, for real.
Around what we were experiencing. But even at that time, we know that issues around conflict amongst people groups, racial groups, different identities. This has been happening for a long time. It's not just during the pandemic.
Absolutely.
It got elevated during the pandemic. With just a few, you could change the news. I think we sometimes think we need all the resources, like hundreds of people. Movements are created that way. But in the workplace, it takes a few people, if with the right clarity, the right skills together, the right sense of aspiration and drive, you could achieve a lot. You could change the dynamic. You could change the news of what's happening in your team, your organization, your business, by getting a few individuals that get it and they have the ability to drive it forward. And you'll see how collectively they start to draw others into that mix. So changing the news was like a reference to the idea of like, there's something currently happening that's not good, but we want to change that news. We want to change that news to something more positive.
That makes me think of King Leonidas, 300. You just had at the narrow gate, they're holding off the whole army, right? And it's just a few versus thousands. But united with a strategy, can't be defeated.
Can't be defeated. So great analogy of just 300 people just saying, hey, we're all in it. We're going to play our roles and we're going to get unified and go. The adjust your view beyond the hue piece was an explicit reference to the idea of diversity amongst teams. And not only diversity, it's the perspective of, I have to change my view of how I view others. I have to change my perspective of others. And that now you're getting to deeper sense of inclusion of people. And the hue, I mean, literally, we're talking about hue of skin color. We're talking about the hue of personality. We're talking about the hue of gifts and skills and experiences. We're talking about the hue of cultural backgrounds. You have to we have to ask ourselves, are we adjusting our view to really see not only beyond these things, but embrace these things?
I love the way you said that in the rest of that piece. Goes beyond what they thought they can do, right? Strengthen a team that takes these cues. So if you lean into these conversations, if you lean into the power of the few, the differences in hue, and appreciate differences in people, then you will realize greater levels of achievement, of understanding, of success. But it takes courage to lean into it because they're so controversial. They're so polarizing. So, it's not easy for certain people to do that. A lot of people just don't want to even deal with it. But if you start with the end in mind and say, well, wait a minute, maybe there is a better way beyond my current way, and I have to embrace these ideas in order to reach that.
Totally. It's about the outcomes, and keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same outcomes. But if you lean into that discomfort a little bit, you lean into that self-reflection and say, am I truly viewing my team members the way I should be? The outcomes could break through the ceiling that you were thinking of. So,
100%.